welcome again to the Word of the Day podcast. I'm your host, Jamie Silva, and before we begin, I should let you know that according to the bylaws of the Podcasters Guild of America, I'm obligated to exhort you to review this show on iTunes and subscribe while you're there if you haven't already. Now let's turn to today's Word of the Day, which is Draconian. Draconian spelled Draconian. Draconian is an adjective, and it means, in my mind, excessively harsh, especially with regard to punishments or legal sanctions like fines or prison sentences or others. The official or online definition is as follows, quote, of laws or their application, excessively harsh and severe, end quote. So that's basically the same thing, though mine is a little bit broader, on purpose, and I'll explain why that's on purpose in part 2, the usage. So people out there, usually the man, are constantly making rules, and if you don't follow the rules, then there are probably punishments or consequences of some kind. Sometimes these punishments may fit the crime, but sometimes you might think they're way too harsh. If so, you can call them draconian. But contrary to the official definition, I don't think the rules have to be laws per se, and the punishment doesn't have to be handed down by a court in order to qualify as draconian. Maybe, just for example, getting docked on an entire letter grade on your paper just for not formatting your bibliography correctly, that sounds draconian. Just as much as, say, something law-related would be, like perhaps a $50 parking ticket for being 30 seconds late to your meter, that sort of thing. The origin of the word is actually pretty fun, depending on your definition of fun, so I'll tell it to you. Draco, or possibly Draco, I'm not sure, was a Greek lawmaker in the 7th century BC who unveiled this slate of all justice all the time kind of laws to crack down on what must have been a really anything goes mood, crime-wise, amongst the populace. Assault and battery, let's say? Draco's laws said the punishment was death. Steal something? Death. Fail to compliment Aunt Penelope's incredible olive oil dip that she slaved over for so long, although technically, given the time period we're talking about, it was probably Aunt Penelope's slaves who had slaved over it. But anyway, that probably would be death too. Hence, later, laws that were similarly drastic with big punishments for small offenses were likened to Draco's laws and therefore labeled draconian. Interestingly, the legend of Draco's own demise is that in those days, if people were really happy with you, they would, weirdly, toss their cloaks at you. Especially if you were appearing in front of a crowd or perhaps on a stage of some kind. It's unclear to me, and no one has really explained it that I've heard, whether the people who threw their cloaks got them back afterwards, or if folks would just tote around a spare throwing cloak if they saw some luminary passing on the street or they were going to a show, so they didn't, have to leave the venue cold or something like that. I don't know how it worked. But anyway, Draco appeared one evening in some theater to, say hi to the people, the audience, and to express their, hey man, great work with the law and order feelings. They tossed so many cloaks on him that he was buried and then suffocated under the pile of applause cloaks, which is a tough way to go. It's probably a good thing that clapping presumably caught on soon after that as a way for audiences to express appreciation. It seems like an advancement. Let's finally turn to the examples of how to use this word in ordinary conversation or writing. And a theme that you'll probably pick up on throughout these episodes is that my examples do disproportionately involve food. So, example number 1. Sally decried the 10-minute timeout as a draconian response to her theft of 7 Oreos directly before dinner. Example number 2. What? Exclaimed Cameron. You're saying that the last person to make a sandwich has to put away all the sandwich fixings? That's a pretty draconian rule, if you ask me. Okay, that is it for today. Please note that anyone who does not use the word draconian in a conversation today is subject to the harsh penalty of a $50 fine, payable, of course, to me. And I really hope you saw what I did there. Also, starting next show, and continuing from there in the following episodes, I'm anticipating a series of guests and features, prizes perhaps, and exciting announcements exactly as promised. And by going to WOTDpodcast.com, locating the iTunes button and subscribing, you can get the show delivered right to your phone so you won't miss out on any of those things. Until next time, I'm Jamie Silva, and this has been the Word of the Day podcast.